Chapter 16, The Lost Track Drill. Trackers are human. However magical the skills may seem to the uninitiated, because they are human, they are fallible. At some stage, however experienced a tracker, he will lose the track. At this point, he falls back on the procedures laid down in this chapter. They will help him to reestablish the pursuit again. When acquiring skills, a tracker must always be conscious of two important facts. First, losing a track can be a simple matter of taking only one or two steps in the wrong direction. And second, human nature will compel us to go on when there is no track and to fool ourselves into seeing a track where there is none. Last definite sign. As explained in Chapter 12, the track pursuit drill has been developed to assist the visual tracker in following a track made by the quarry. The corollary of this is that it prevents him losing the track, thus the emphasis upon the importance of noting and remembering the last definite sign, and whether it was conclusive or substantiating. The tracker must always be able to locate this last sign, and may often have to orientate himself by some definite mark in its vicinity, such as a tree stump, a large stone, a prominent bush, or a fence post, to use a reference point to reestablish his last contact with the quarry. The last definite sign is the crux of the lost track drill. Therefore, it is worth mentioning a simple technique to help you keep sight of it. I find that if I am tracking in a relatively flat, featureless area, it is useful to mark the last definite sign by a short, thin stick that I carry in my day pack. You may, depending on the situation, tie a brightly colored piece of cloth to the end. The lost track drill is broken down into the following stages: initial search, initial probe, initial cast, extended cast, streamlined search, likely areas searches. The initial search. 1. From your last definite sign, assess the general direction of your quarry was last traveling in. 2. Describe a half circle in approximately 1 meter in radius. Scan it from left to right and right to left. Look in the distance, the middle distance, and the foreground. Do this from the standing, kneeling, and prone positions. Use a magnifying glass if necessary at this stage to identify sign that you might otherwise miss with the naked eye. 3. If you locate sign at any stage while carrying out the initial search, confirm that it is your quarry's by following it up a few meters. If you're happy that you're following the right track, carry on with the track pursuit drill. 4. If no track is located by use of the initial search, you will now have to resort to the initial probe. Notes: the initial search may take up to 30 minutes. Your movements should be limited to those necessary to observe the area fully. The initial probe. 1. From your last definite sign, probe forward to the left, front, and right, in each case moving only 4 to 5 meters max. 2. Every time you draw a blank, retrace your steps to your last definite sign and probe again in a different direction. 3. The techniques carried out in the initial search above should come into effect on each probe. 4. If you locate sign at any stage while carrying out the initial probe, confirm that it is your quarry's by following it up a few meters. If you're happy that you are following the right sign, carry on with the track pursuit drill. 5. If no track has been located after completion of the initial probe, you carry on to the next stage, the initial cast. Notes: the initial probe may take up to 1 hour. A visual tracker must always remember his individual signs and should never move more than 3 to 4 meters beyond a definite sign of the quarry without another definite sign in front of him. If no sign is located, you must return to the last definite sign and start again. The initial cast. 1. From your last definite sign, figure 45, move back along the track in the direction you have come approximately 15 to 20 meters. 2. Begin walking in a circle 15 to 20 meters in diameter, using the last definite sign as the center of the circle. 3. Whether you move off to the right or left is optional. You will find that you will be influenced by the general direction of the quarry you are following, the ground, and in what direction you think you would be more likely to pick up the quarry's track again. 4. Your aim here is to cut the quarry's track. If you come across the quarry's track, you must confirm that it is the same track that you have originally been following by checking the age of the new track. You then check visually backwards to ensure that the track connects with your last definite sign. Finally, inspect forward a few paces to ensure that it is not a dead end. 5. After confirming that you have located your quarry's sign, complete the circle. The reason for completing the circle is in case another animal of the same species has passed through the circle, in which case you would have to determine which is the quarry's sign, taking into consideration all the features of sign such as age, size of print, length of stride, and depth of print. 6. If you still have not located the quarry's sign on your return to your last definite sign, you now have to carry out the extended cast. Notes: the time taken to carry out the initial cast may be up to 1 hour, depending on your tracking ability, the ground, and tracking conditions, that is, the weather, time of day, age of tracks, and changes in the environment. The extended cast. The drill for the extended cast is the same as for the initial cast, but this time you go back 50 to 100 meters using the last definite sign as the center. See Figure 46. Notes: although the above stages have been time-consuming, up to 4 hours in certain cases, you will now have to accept that you must remain in the area and move on to the final stages of the lost track drill, the searches. Before starting the next procedure, you will need a rest. Don't forget, tracking is a very tiring process because of the concentration that it demands from the tracker, along with the physical strain. Therefore, stop, have a brew, put your feet up for an hour, and relax. Thus far, all the methods of trying to locate your quarry's track have started at the last definite sign. The searchers do not. You are now using your powers of deduction and reason to select areas you suspect the quarry will have visited in the hope that you will pick up the trail anew. The streamline search. 1. This is the most widely used type of search, but it is only one specific type of search. It is used for 2 reasons. Animals need water. The ground around water courses tend to be a good medium for the preservation of sign. 2. Assess the general direction in which your quarry was last traveling. See Figure 47. If using a map, do a map study with the intention of locating any water on your axis of travel and forward from your present location. 3. Whether the amount of water and its distance from your position makes it a viable water source for the quarry depends on the species. For large animals, humans, deer, badgers, and foxes, you will be studying your map for water supplies up to a distance of 5 kilometers. For smaller species, you may be searching closer and considering much smaller supplies of water. And for all quarry, don't overlook water sources that are not mapped, such as ditches and cattle troughs. 4. If you locate a water source from your map you think is worth searching, locate your position on the ground, set your compass, and navigate to the intended location of the search. 5. If you are searching a water course, the following system is the most efficient. A. On reaching the bank of the waterway, use your map to confirm you are in the right place. Remember that not all waterways are marked on the map. B. Decide which direction you are going to follow the river and for how far. You must avoid retracing your steps and making unnecessary sign. Make a plan in your head and stick to it. C. Check out the obvious first. Did the quarry go straight across the stream? D. Before entering the stream, check the ground to ensure that no sign indicates the quarry came out at your entry point. E. Do a limited search, 20 to 30 meters of both banks and in both directions to ascertain if there is an exit point. 6. The tracker has then to bring into play his knowledge of the sign associated with water courses. A. Remember to check the water for discoloration. If the quarry went upstream, there is a possibility that debris, sand, leaves, and sticks will have been disturbed and floated downstream. B. Overhanging branches will have a high water content and therefore will be soft, making it easy for the bank to be scraped off and marked. Look out for these indications. C. If it is a clear water stream and the bottom is visible, it is still possible to track. Move along slowly, looking for impressions of prints, disturbed stones. Practice and familiarization will enable trackers to recognize the natural positions of stones lying on a stream bed, and a reduction in the numbers of sticks and other vegetation wedged or caught by the stones and boulders of the stream bed. D. Disturbed overhanging vegetation and the lack of spiders' webs across narrow streams will indicate the passage of some animal, This is not a conclusive sign. E. All riverbanks are of soft soil and will certainly mark or crumble under the weight of a quarry exiting, often leaving foot impressions, skid, or slide marks. F. Any quarry exiting from a stream will certainly leave two telltale signs behind. Water drops drained off in the immediate area of exit. The age of the track and the weather will significantly affect these, and depending on the bottom of the stream, transferred material, sand, mud, or gravel. G. The tracker checking up or downstream should look out for overhanging branches because if they are near the water, they present an obstacle, and anything passing under or over them will undoubtedly leave some sign. 7. On coming across small tributaries, figure 47, you should go along the bank 50 to 100 meters, then cross, and go back down the other side until you hit the main river again. Likely areas searches. In this strategy, we are trying to get into the skin of the quarry and predict what he will do next and where. This is where building up the track picture in your mind's eye is so important. The following factors should be considered: the possible task and intentions of the quarry, the age of the track and the time of day when the quarry was at the place where the track has been lost. Remember, it will eventually get dark and you may have to abandon the track. Consider the weather conditions that will have affected the sign. This depends on the age of the sign, and therefore the tracker must have been monitoring weather conditions. The types of areas that give the best results are areas of likely campsites, or, in the case of animals, likely living areas such as dens and tunnels, steep gradients, track junctions, the sides of tracks, rivers, and roads, any other areas you feel your particular quarry may have gone. Finally, the aim of the lost track drill is to help you, the tracker, to relocate the track. You must remember where your last definite sign is, and you must carry out the drills rigorously to ensure that you have not been bluffing yourself. If the sign is not located during the initial probe, then it is very likely that the quarry's last definite sign may be further back along the track. This is why the initial cast drill best assists you in relocating the quarry's sign. When following your quarry, at all times avoid stepping on your quarry's prints. In the case of small animals, walk parallel to them. With humans and larger animals, you can walk between their prints. The last thing you want when you lose the track and you have to go back to your last definite sign is to find your own footprints or those of a companion on top of your last definite sign. Continually ask yourself the question, what would I do if I were in his position? But to be able to do this, you must have developed the track picture so that you're aware of his general intentions and condition. This applies as much for animals as for a man because the animal tracker has an acute appreciation of his quarry's habits that enables him to predict its movements. We can lose a track through lack of concentration just as much as through lack of sign, and this mental aspect is worth considering. Tracking is tiring. Don't bluff. Think like the quarry. Summary: the stages. The lost track drill is broken down into the following: initial search, initial probe, initial cast, extended cast, streamlined search, likely areas search. If carrying out the first 4 drills has not located the lost track, the tracker should stop, relax, and have a brew. An hour of rest will help to focus your powers of reason and deduction on the searches.